The day Shen Siyue discovered she was pregnant, she slapped me in the face with divorce papers. Jiang Muyan, let's get divorced. We're not a good match. I was kicked out of the Shen family home like a dog, drowning in debt overnight. Debt collectors forced me to sell my organs. In the end, I bled to death. Meanwhile, Shen Siyue was a blissful newlywed, whispering sweet nothings with her old flame. I was reborn into the third year of my secret marriage with Shen Siyue. This time, I would turn the tables. The violent debt collectors had found an unlicensed quack who, without any anesthesia, tore out my liver and kidney. I lost too much blood and blacked out. When I woke again, I didn't see the black and white reapers I'd expected, ready to lead me across the bridge of oblivion. Instead, I was in the marital bedroom I shared with Shen Siyue. I realized I had been reborn. It had to be the third year of my secret marriage with Shen Siyue, and today was the day she'd gone for a hospital checkup. In my previous life, it was also on this day that Shen Siyue returned from her checkup, radiant, holding a positive pregnancy report. Before I even had a chance to feel happy, she pulled divorce papers from her bag and, in front of the entire Shen family, threw them in my face. She'd said, "I'm pregnant, Jiang Muyan. Let's get divorced. We're not a good match." That very night, I was thrown out of the Shen family home. Overnight, I went from being the Shen family's celebrated live-in son-in-law to a debt-ridden outcast. After 3 years of secret marriage with Shen Siyue, I ended up dying after debt collectors forcibly took my kidney and liver, while Shen Siyue and her beloved Qin Huayu threw a lavish wedding. Fortunately, I was reborn. In this life, I would never let Shen Siyue trample over me like that again. Everything I lost in my past life, I would reclaim in this one, every last bit. I pulled my thoughts back to the present, stretched, and felt a dull ache all over my body. Just then, the butler came in carrying ginseng soup, his face beaming. "Young master, the young miss is pregnant. Hurry downstairs and see." For 3 years, as the Shen family's live-in son-in-law, everyone in the household, from top to bottom, had treated me with utmost respect. My father-in-law even invested $10 million in my biotech company on the very day we registered our marriage and gifted us the most expensive villa in Rongqing as our marital home. No matter how my parents tried to stop me from becoming a live-in son-in-law, I was dead set on marrying Shen Siyue. For 3 years after our marriage, we were a loving couple, living in perfect harmony. Shen Siyue said she wanted us to have a child. For these 3 years, to prepare for pregnancy, I hadn't touched a drop of alcohol. I went to bed early, woke up early, and worked out diligently, all so she could conceive a healthy baby. The past was too painful to recall. I finished the soup and went downstairs in my slippers. Everyone in the Shen family was in the living room, gathered around Shen Siyue, chatting and laughing merrily. When she saw me, Shen Siyue's gaze turned cold. "You're so frail. Just a little rain and you get a fever." Last night, it was raining when I went to pick Shen Siyue up from her company. I only had one umbrella, and I held it entirely over her. The strong wind on the way, plus my wet clothes, made me catch a fever by midnight. In the past, she would have said, "Hubby, are you feeling awful? Should we see a doctor?" But now, she couldn't seem to stand the sight of me. I changed the subject. "The butler said you're pregnant?" Shen Siyue looked displeased. Touching her stomach, she said, "Yes, just a month along." I sat beside her without saying anything. She glanced at me and finally spoke. "Jiang Muyan, let's get divorced." It was the same scenario as in my previous life. Expected. This time, I didn't feel much sadness. Is it because of Qin Huayu? I deliberately mentioned her old flame. She immediately denied it. "No, we just don't have anything in common to talk about." True, we really didn't have much common ground. She studied art and was in performing arts, while I was in biotech and healthcare. Our fields were worlds apart. "Fine, I respect your choice. Let's discuss the divorce settlement." Shen Siyue looked incredulous. She probably thought my pride was too strong, that I wouldn't ask for a cent in compensation. Unfortunately for her, she was wrong. After experiencing the Shen family's betrayal in my previous life, I had long since left our feelings in the past. Shen Siyue stared at me for a long moment, then said with great disappointment, "Jiang Muyan, you've changed. You weren't like this before." I wasn't the only one who'd changed. Shen Siyue and I were both top students at Rongqing University, meeting at our senior graduation gala. She was a dancer on stage. I was the outstanding graduate representative giving a speech. Back then, my biotech company had just been registered and was still in its infancy. In the audience, among the business leaders, was Shen Siyue's father, a Rongqing real estate tycoon. He saw potential in my company, praised me for being the province's top scholar, intelligent, and good-looking, and wanted to invest. Through her father's encouragement, Shen Siyue and I began to see each other more frequently. My parents were working class. Compared to Shen Siyue's family, a massive conglomerate, we were hardly social equals. Faced with Shen Siyue's affection, I felt both incredibly flattered and utterly lost. My parents vehemently opposed me marrying into the Shen family, but Shen Siyue insisted. Love conquers all. I was determined to marry in, and the Shens, with a wave of their hand, gifted us luxury cars and mansions. Although we kept our marriage a secret publicly, my rising star was common knowledge in business circles. Everyone lauded me as Boss Shen's prized son-in-law, and the Shen family was already pushing us to have child. It wasn't until the Shens played me, kicking me out their gates like a stray dog, that I realized their meticulous scheming was all for one purpose: to use me to father their child. Everything I had done before to make Shen Siyue happy now seemed like a pathetic joke. No matter how I laid my heart bare for her, it couldn't compare to the slightest romantic gesture from Jiang Muyan. I didn't refute Shen Siyue's version of events. I admitted it. I had changed. I'd learned to face reality, no longer blinded by infatuation. I scrutinized every clause in the divorce agreement, terrified the Shens would set another trap for me. Here, I said, add another clause. The $10 million provided at the time was an investment. Projects carry risks. Investments require caution. Even if it fails, you can't hold me liable for the debt. Shen Siyue watched intently as I marked up the agreement. Her concentration mirrored the seriousness with which I used to present the company's financial reports to her. This part is wrong too, I continued. The house and cars gifted at our wedding are all in your name, so the marital assets need to be redivided. And this, if the child is born safely, I propose we handle visitation rights through legal channels. That would be more equitable for both of us. I made numerous changes to the agreement. Shen Siyue raised no objections. After it was reprinted, we both signed the divorce papers. Like me, she was anxious to finalize things, fearing any delay might lead to complications. 3 years of secret marriage, and I was finally free. The ink on our divorce papers was barely dry when Shen Siyue eagerly began planning her wedding to Jiang Muyan. The marriage alliance between a real estate magnate and a prestigious, scholarly family sent shockwaves through all of Rongqing. She, an elegant dancer. He, a celebrity with massive online traction, a talented man and a beautiful woman, a match seemingly made in heaven. Jiang Muyan, behind Shen Siyue's back, sent me an invitation to their wedding, requesting my presence and blessings in person. With a clear conscience, what did I have to fear? Why wouldn't I go? On the wedding day, I too was impeccably dressed in a suit, having taken great care with my appearance. I handed my meticulously prepared red envelope to the attendant managing the gift registry. When opened, it revealed 666 yuan. Amidst gifts that typically ran into tens of thousands, mine was both strikingly conspicuous and embarrassingly meager. The person with the registry book asked, "May I have your name, esteemed guest? Are you a friend or relative of the bride or the groom?" I cleared my throat and raised my voice. "Oh, write down Jiang Muyan. I'm the bride Shen Siyue's ex-husband, and the groom Jiang Muyan's junior from university." A hush fell over the hall, quickly followed by a flurry of whispers. Since Jiang Muyan clearly thought I lacked the courage to show up, I was determined to come and make their day thoroughly uncomfortable. "What's going on? I've never heard of the Shen family having a son-in-law before, have you? And a live-in one at that. I heard Miss Shen conceived through a sperm donor. Any truth to that? I wonder." "Nonsense. Why would the illustrious Shen family need Jiang Muyan for that? For his looks? Possibly. More likely, they were after superior genes. Haha. She'll quiet down. It'll be bad if Jiang Muyan overhears. A sperm donor? Are they implying Jiang Muyan isn't smart enough? Or perhaps not handsome enough? Best to just keep quiet and see how this plays out." The guests buzzed with excited gossip, each one eager to contribute. The bridal couple, hearing the crowd's chatter, stood rooted to the spot in awkward silence. I went to the restroom, and Shen Siyue followed me in, furious. "Jiang Muyan, what exactly are you playing at?" Looking at my reflection as I wiped my face, I replied with utmost sincerity, "I'm playing at offering my heartfelt blessings. Isn't my gift of 666 yuan a way of complimenting you both?" Shen Siyue's face flushed crimson. She stepped closer, her voice sharp. "Jiang Muyan, I know you're bitter about the divorce. But rest assured, my Shen family won't treat you unfairly. The money will be in your account in a few days." "Excellent. I shall eagerly await the good news." I turned to leave, but she spoke again. "Jiang Muyan, I know you were good to me, But Huayu is the one I truly love. You'll find your own happiness too, eventually. I scoffed inwardly. Typical sanctimonious hypocrite. Use someone up, then tell them they deserve better. My happiness? That died before my rebirth. All I want now is to hold tight to what is rightfully mine. When Huayu saw Shen Siyue emerge from the restroom after me, his face clouded over. He grabbed her hand so hard she gasped in pain. Huayu, what are you doing? You're hurting me. Siyue, you promised you wouldn't see him again. This is our wedding. If people see this, how can I possibly show my face? I made a quick exit, having no desire to watch that scumbag and his bitch tear each other apart. Moments later, I heard the sharp crack of a slap. Shen Siyue's spoiled brat temper must have erupted. Huayu had probably been on the receiving end. The wedding reception wasn't even over when I received a call from my company's finance department. Mr. Jiang, the Shen family has pulled their 10 million yuan investment. Mr. Jiang, the Shen family has pulled their 10 million yuan investment. Just as I'd foreseen. Even with this second chance, the Shen family had ditched me without a moment's hesitation. Luckily, I was prepared this time. Their sudden withdrawal wouldn't bury me in debt. Mr. Jiang, are you still there? The Shuns have withdrawn their funds, and several other investors are indicating they might do the same. What's our next move? I'm heading back to the office immediately. Don't worry about the capital. I have other plans. Before the Shen family pulled their investment, I had already secured 10 million through angel funding, so their withdrawal didn't leave too big a gap. Right now, with the high transmission rate of the winter flu virus, targeted medication is crucial. There's huge demand for virus testing kits, and prices are generally high. The earlier you get in, the higher the return. The angel investors saw this potential, and combined with our company's already decent product performance and strong recommendations through my alma mater's network, the company was progressing steadily. There's no such thing as a secret that stays hidden forever. When Shen Siyue transferred the 20 million divorce settlement into my private account, the story of how the Shen family used me to father an heir and then kicked me out shot to the top of the trending charts overnight. Bad publicity is still publicity, as they say. I never expected this to bring a ton of fans to our company. Some netizens envied me for getting a hefty 20 million compensation for selling myself for 3 years, while others lamented how a chosen one, like me, was still trampled by capital. But as the person at the center of it all, I wasn't as bothered by public opinion as you might think. Ultimately, whether you're a minnow or a dragon, it all comes down to your own abilities. After discussing with my other partners, we decided to go with the flow and open up company shares to the public. Many netizens who believed in us actively invested. We briefly weathered the first financial crisis after the Shen family's divestment. Next, our product's market share will determine our company's future direction and survival. I poured all my energy into product R&D, completely forgetting to keep tabs on Shen Siyue. It wasn't until Shen Siyue called that I learned the Shen family was mired in a public opinion crisis. Their stock had plummeted, and in their desperation, they contacted me to hold a joint press conference to clear things up. I refused point blank. Shen Siyue then used our child to threaten me. Jiang Muyan, after more than 3 years together, you're just going to walk away? I don't believe your feelings for our child and me were fake. The Shen family was desperate for a male heir. When Shen Siyue was 3 months pregnant, they confirmed it was a boy through both genetic testing and an ultrasound, a double guarantee. Only then did they ruthlessly begin to dismantle all my authority within their companies. When I didn't answer, Shen Siyue grew anxious. Jiang Muyan, if you agree to clarify the facts about our divorce, I can personally invest more capital into your company. Jiang Muyan, if you agree to clarify the facts about our divorce, I can personally invest more capital into your company. The company was in its growth phase. Who would turn down money? At the press conference, a reporter's question was blunt. Miss Shen, was your marriage to Mr. Jiang truly a contractual one? Shen Siyue nudged my arm. I forced a smile and replied, those are just rumors. Miss Shen and I'm married out of love. Now, due to differing career paths and relationship issues, we've divorced amicably. There are no other reasons. Miss Shen, was your marriage to Mr. Jiang truly a contractual one? Those are just rumors. Miss Shen and I'm married out of love. Now, due to differing career paths and relationship issues, we've divorced amicably. There are no other reasons. The media wasn't ready to give up. Then, regarding the Shen family using you to father their child, Mr. Jiang, do you have anything to say? The Shen family had no need for such measures. Besides, Miss Shen and I have a child together. I hope everyone could be a bit more considerate with their words. Although my answers at the press conference were a rambling, unfocused mess, The chapter on how the Shen family discards the donkey once the milling is done was finally turned. When it ended, Qin Huaiyu was waiting for Shen Siyue with a car and thoughtfully draped a coat over her shoulders. Shen Siyue smiled radiantly. In our 3 years of marriage, she had never smiled like that. I'd always thought she was just one of those cool, aloof beauties who didn't smile much. It turned out she genuinely wasn't happy with me. How ridiculous that it took me dying once, a harsh awakening, to see it clearly. It must have been exhausting for her, faking it for so many years. Seeing me, Qin Huaiyu deliberately came over. Jiang Muyan, I hope you know your place and stay away from Siyue. Jiang Muyan, I hope you know your place and stay away from Siyue. I wouldn't have thought Qin Huaiyu, grandson of Rongqing's great scholar, would also stoop to playing the other man to angle for fame and profit. How are you any different from me? At least Shen Siyue and I have a child together. My last sentence clearly infuriated Qin Huaiyu. I normally wouldn't stoop to such pettiness, but since he came looking for a confrontation, I saw no reason to just take it. Shen Siyue's sweet voice called out, Huaiyu, let's go. It had been half a year since the divorce. To be honest, I hadn't completely let go of my feelings for Shen Siyue. After all, for 3 years, the emotions I invested were real. Everything was going quite smoothly on my end. In the blink of an eye, it was almost Chinese New Year's Eve when suddenly, the COVID-19 virus erupted. The mere mention of COVID sent shivers down everyone's spine, and the entire city went into an almost complete lockdown. Qin Huaiyu's career faced severe limitations. He could only resort to live streaming from home. For an influencer celebrity like him, constant public appearances were the unspoken rule to maintain his fame. After marrying Shen Siyue, Qin Huaiyu moved into the Shen family's mansion, all his expenses covered by them. Boss Shen was admitted to the ICU with white lung, a severe form of pneumonia caused by the virus, and consequently, control over the Shen family's businesses was almost entirely handed over to Shen Siyue. It was precisely at this moment that Qin Huaiyu seized his chance, persuading Shen Siyue to let him get involved in the company's operations. Truth be told, many companies were struggling financially during the pandemic. Qin Huaiyu knew nothing about business, but because he was adept at pleasing Shen Siyue, the other shareholders could only swallow their anger and dared not voice their objections. During this period, our company's R&D and production team seized the opportunity. We ramped up the R&D and production of both test kits and ECMO machines, propelling our company to become a leading enterprise in Rongqing. When Shen Siyue contacted me again, it was because Boss Shen's condition had become critical, and she wanted to buy the best ECMO machine to support his treatment. I'm a businessman, after all. There was no sense in refusing business that came knocking. Seeing me, tears streamed down Shen Siyue's face, a truly heartbreaking sight. She was heavily pregnant, nearly full term, yet she was running herself ragged for her father while the company's profits plummeted. It was clear she was completely overwhelmed. Muyan, she began, I heard from some of the company veterans that your company has the most advanced ECMO, extracorporeal membrane oxygenation machines. I want to buy one for my father's personal use. I sipped my tea without a word. Although Shen Siyue had wronged me terribly, to be fair, Boss Shen had given me considerable support during my company's startup phase. Moreover, my current success was largely built on the resources I'd secured early on by leveraging my status as the Shen family's prestigious son-in-law. By all accounts, both emotionally and rationally, I should help. Seeing my silence, Shen Siyue grew anxious. I know what I did. Kicking you out of the Shen family was despicable of me. But now a life is at stake. Can you please help me? So, she did know that a life on the line was a serious matter. In my previous life, when I was drowning in debt, she had hired violent debt collectors who ultimately drove me to my death. None of this had happened in this current life, so, of course, she wouldn't know. Remembering this, my heart still clenched involuntarily, a sharp, familiar ache. Sitting before me was the woman I once loved most, who, with the man she now loved, had conspired to kick me, the biological father of her child, to the curb. Shen Siyue, I said, an ECMO machine isn't a miracle cure. If Boss Shen's condition is too severe, it likely won't be of much use. I was just telling her the truth. Even with it, whether he could ever be taken off the machine was a different story. Although the Shen family wasn't short of money, at times like these, money can't always buy a life. When Shen Siyue saw I had no intention of cooperating, she actually knelt and begged me. Moved by her filial devotion and pitying her plight, when the newest batch of machines left the factory, I sent one to her first. I had also intended to visit Boss Shen and check on his condition. Unexpectedly, at the Shen family mansion, I saw Qin Huaiyu punching and kicking Shen Siyue. She was heavily pregnant. Attacking her like that could have killed them both. I rushed forward, tore Qin Huayu away from her, and kicked him to the ground. Qin Huayu stared at me defiantly. Jiang Muyan, what right do you have to meddle? Don't forget, the Shen family threw you out long ago. It was true. I really had no standing to protect Shen Siyue. Seeing this, Shen Siyue steadied herself on the railing and got up, wiping the blood from the corner of her mouth. Qin Huayu, you despicable bastard. Just wait. You'll be rotting in jail for this. In less than half an hour, the police took Qin Huayu away. I followed the ambulance with Shen Siyue to the hospital. In the hospital bed, Shen Siyue's face was frighteningly pale. Sir, the doctor addressed me. The patient's pregnancy is unstable. She needs bed rest to protect the baby. Please prepare her things and be ready for her to go into labor at any moment. The doctor's words sent a cold sweat down my back. Shen Siyue and I technically had no relationship anymore, but alas, there was still this child between us. Shen Siyue was very weak, clutching my hand and refusing to let go. Muyan, she whispered, I was wrong. To let someone as good as you go. Qin Huayu, he's nothing but a beast in human clothing. From her tone, I gathered their marriage hadn't been going well. It wasn't until Shen Siyue told me the whole story that I actually found myself thinking this miserable couple truly deserve each other. I felt genuinely glad I'd gotten out. After Qin Huayu got involved in the Shen family's company, he repeatedly caused huge losses. Eventually, the shareholders jointly petitioned to have him kicked out. Shen Siyue was completely overwhelmed. On one hand, Boss Shen was critically ill, and on the other, Qin Huayu was like a vicious wolf that had infiltrated their home. She had someone investigate Qin Huayu and, sure enough, discovered he had colluded with others to short the company's stock and had also embezzled company funds, moving them overseas. Several of the Shen family's companies were now on the brink of collapse. When Shen Siyue, armed with this evidence, decided to take Qin Huayu to court, he found out, and the scene I had witnessed erupted. Shen Siyue had been Boss Shen's pampered princess since she was little, always cherished in the palm of his hand. Why had she ever suffered such grievances? When the police came to the hospital to understand the facts and take her statement, Shen Siyue's anger hadn't subsided. She insisted on not settling and was determined to send Qin Huayu to prison. I sighed inwardly. People always choose one path, then think the one not taken would have been easier. But once they actually walk it, there are always trivial dissatisfactions. Even the best relationships, once secured, tend to become ordinary. On the 6th day of the Lunar New Year, when Shen Siyue went into labor, Qin Huayu was out on bail and still under investigation. He stubbornly refused to sign the consent form for her epidural. The Shen family's housekeeper, frantic, called me. No matter what Shen Siyue had done, it was still our child. I rushed to the hospital and ended up in another brawl with Qin Huayu right outside her delivery room. The police hauled both Qin Huayu and me to the station, so I missed seeing Shen Siyue and our baby when they came out of the delivery room. The housekeeper called to tell me it was a boy. The Shen family finally had an heir. They named him Shen Siyue. After old Master Shen recovered, he threw a lavish banquet and even transferred ownership of a prime commercial building in Rongqing to the baby. When the Shen family learned I'd fought Qin Huayu to ensure Shen Siyue got her epidural, they started treating me with renewed attentiveness. Sometime later, after I'd just closed a deal with a client, Shen Siyue came to see me, holding the baby. The pandemic restrictions had recently eased, and the city was just emerging from lockdown. The weather was a fickle, early spring mix of warmth and lingering chill. The baby was incredibly soft and pink. He had my eyes, but the rest of his features favored Shen Siyue. He was chubby and adorable, and looking at him, my heart softened a little. Shen Siyue was in the middle of a messy divorce battle with Qin Huayu. Trying to get him locked up was proving more difficult than expected. Worry lines etched her brow, and she lacked the confident, almost defiant air she'd worn when she first initiated the divorce. Muyan, she began, are you free? Maybe we could get something to eat. I was about to refuse, but the baby was so adorable that I found myself agreeing. Noticing how taken I was with the baby, Shen Siyue asked tentatively, Muyan, about his custody. Would you want it? I was baffled. She had faked a loving marriage with me for 3 years just to have this child, and she'd gone through so much pain in childbirth. Why on earth would she offer me custody? I suspected the Shen family might be facing some serious trouble, so I asked with genuine concern, what's happened? She shook her head. Nothing like that. It's just, I feel so sorry for him, growing up without a father. Before I could fully process her words, she added, my father's idea is for us to reconcile. to give our son a proper family. So, that was her real agenda. I handed the baby to the maternity nurse, then sat up straight, my expression serious, as I faced Shen Siyue. This woman was undeniably beautiful, with an exquisite figure, but her common sense was seriously lacking. Jiang Muyan, am not some piece of trash by the roadside that she can pick up and discard whenever she fancies. Shen Siyue, I said, your divorce isn't even finalized, and here you are, already trying to reconcile with your ex-husband. You certainly don't waste any time, do you? Shen Siyue heard the sarcasm in my voice, but didn't seem fazed. Instead, she smiled. I know you're a successful man now, Muyan. The man you become is finally worthy of me. Shen Siyue, just as I thought, the woman was heartless. If I were still that penniless nobody from before, even if her relationship with Qin Huayu had completely imploded, she wouldn't have given me a second glance. I stood up. So, I'm finally worthy of you now, is that it? But what on earth makes you think, Shen Siyue, that I would still want you? Shen Siyue played her trump card. Our son can take your surname. We can call him Jiang Shuren. Shen Shuren, Jiang Shuren. What was the difference? His name would only be a constant, painful reminder of how Shen Siyue had used me for 3 years just to have him, then kicked me to the curb the moment she was done. I don't need that, I said flatly. His surname can be whatever you want. It makes no difference to me. As I walked away, Shen Siyue yelled after me, Jiang Muyan, you're truly heartless. The public feud between Shen Siyue and Qin Huayu was the talk of Rongqing. Netizens were buzzing, most agreeing I was the good guy, handling the split with such dignity. Goes to show, everyone's different. But Jiang Muyan, he's a real man. Made a clean break, no hesitation. Qin Huayu's just a pretty boy. Not like Jiang Muyan, who could actually strike out on his own. Glad I backed the right horse with my investment. Jiang Muyan's company stock is still climbing, while the Shen family's is tanking. While netizens lapped up the drama, I kept my head down, focusing on my business with my partners. Sometimes, opportunity is fleeting. If you don't seize it, it's gone for good. Our test kits and ECMO machines were selling well internationally. I had no energy to dwell on being kicked out by the Shen family. On the flight back to the country, I ran into Qin Huayu. He was now a disgraced celebrity, banned from public performances domestically, forced to tour less developed regions abroad just to maintain some visibility. Honestly, during the pandemic, there was no way those performance fees could cover his expenses from constantly being on the move. Jiang Muyan, he sneered, no matter how successful you become, you'll never erase the stain of being the Shen family's live-in son-in-law. So what? I replied. Qin Huayu, relentless, tried to provoke me further. You only have a child with Shen Siyue? You think she truly loved you? She was cheating on you with me before you even divorced. That, I hadn't expected, but there was no point dwelling on it now. I glanced at my newspaper, then leisurely replied. So what if Shen Siyue loved you? She still pulled out all the stops to put you behind bars. At least I'm free now, aren't I? Qin Huayu looked utterly deflated, gasping for breath in anger. He completely lost his composure, cursing loudly right there on the plane. I thought Qin Huayu was just asking for it. We could have had a quiet flight, but he just had to stir up trouble for himself. Who else could he blame? As soon as we deplaned, Qin Huayu was taken away by the police. It looked like they finally had enough evidence to arrest and prosecute him. That was Shen Siyue for you. Always swift and decisive, just like when we divorced. No messing around. As Qin Huayu was led away, he shot me a resentful look, as if I was the one who'd ruined his supposedly blissful romance. Qin Huayu was pitiful, yes, but also detestable. He'd brought all of this upon himself. He should have known long ago. Being a stepfather is no easy task. Shen Siyue cherished that child so much. For him to dare punch and kick her in the abdomen, Shen Siyue, having him locked up, was already her final act of mercy. Too bad Qin Huayu would never understand. He'd just think this was all my scheme to get revenge on him for breaking up my marriage with Shen Siyue. Let him think what he wants. I don't have time for his games. Qin Huayu ultimately ended up in jail. In the messy public feud between Shen Siyue and Qin Huayu, Shen Siyue was the clear winner. The Qin family spent a fortune but couldn't get Qin Huayu out. No one had expected Shen Siyue's all-consuming love affair to end in such an unseemly way. For the child's 100-day celebration, the Shen family planned to host a grand event. Boss Shen had an invitation sent to my company. The receptionist handed it to me with a look that spoke volumes. In less than an hour, all my colleagues knew the Shen family was inviting me to their little boy's 100-day celebration. Whispers circulated that this was the Shen family's signal for our reconciliation. Shen Siyue, who had deleted me on WeChat, added me back. Muyan, I hope you can come to the child's 100-day celebration. I wouldn't delude myself into thinking Shen Siyue actually wanted me back, but as it turned out, that's exactly what she had in mind. As I was holding the child, playfully teasing him, Boss Shen approached with a glass of wine. Muyan, my judgment of character has always been sharp. Look at you now, one of Rongqing's top entrepreneurs. Our Siyue is a lucky woman. Men as exceptional as you, who also dote on their wives, are few and far between these days. Many people present heard Boss Shen's words and shot amused glances our way. Shen Siyue, in a bespoke white mermaid gown, looked dazzling and turned heads. Muyan, look, the child really resembles you, she said. I didn't reply. She continued to coo at the child. And then, when you grow up, be as handsome and accomplished as your daddy, okay? Then, she gave me a meaningful look. I feigned ignorance. Shuren can't grow up to be like me, a live-in son-in-law who gets unceremoniously kicked out. Imagine how devastated his mother would be, wouldn't she? An unnatural smile flickered across Shen Siyue's face. She pulled me over to a seat. Muyan, you were so good to me before. I believe you love me. You're being so cold to me now. It's intentional, isn't it? You want to win me back, right? Whatever arrogance Shen Siyue once possessed had vanished completely after a failed marriage to Qin Huayu. Shen Siyue, you're overthinking things. I didn't come here hoping for a reconciliation. As you said, this is all for the child. I stood up to leave, but Shen Siyue grabbed my sleeve. Muyan, are you still angry with me? I did consider trying to build a life with you, but you treated me like an obligation, so cold and distant, almost devoid of emotion. Qin Huayu, with his sweet talk and knack for pleasing women. Anyone else in my shoes would have chosen him too. Shen Siyue was right. Compared to Qin Huayu, he was indeed better at winning a woman's heart. Qin Huayu wasn't bad-looking, was fun-loving, and knew how to charm girls. What young woman doesn't dream of romance? Even Shen Siyue, who had been doted on her entire life, was no exception. But me? I've always been a man of few words, utterly clueless about the grand romantic gesture she craved. My sole focus was on managing the Shen family business. I believed that by easing her burdens and meticulously tending to her every need, I was loving her, that this would ensure our marriage lasted. But I completely missed the mark. What Shen Siyue truly yearned for was emotional connection and romance, things I had failed to provide. It was only today that I fully understood. All along, my devotion had been utterly misplaced. What I offered was never what she truly wanted. Once I understood that, a sense of peace washed over me. Shen Siyue spoke in an almost pleading tone. Muyan, can't we let bygones be bygones? Let's start over, raising it together. No, what you want I still can't give you. Leaving the Shen residence, I suddenly felt a weight lift off my shoulders. There was no going back for Shen Siyue and me. Even with our child connecting us, we were destined to go our separate ways. Over the next year, Shen Siyue called me relentlessly, but I never answered. Once the pandemic eased, the real estate market plunged into an ice age. The whole economic bubble burst, and the Shen family was a shadow of its former self. The Shens built their fortune on real estate. Now, their cash flow had dried up, property values nosedived, and everywhere you looked, their properties, seized to cover construction debts, were up for foreclosure auction. I heard through the grapevine that Shen Siyue had left the country and was now a dancer in small, independent theaters abroad. Rumor had it she'd become a blacklisted debtor back home, with restrictions on luxury, spending, and a horde of creditors after her. Unable to bear the harassment, she fled the country. Wasn't this karma, a swift and fitting retribution? It's just that in my previous life, my creditors never gave me a chance to flee abroad to escape my debts. Compared to me, Shen Siyue was already quite fortunate to be able to hide away overseas. I thought Shen Siyue and I would never cross paths again, but then I received a text from a new number, hers. Anin had acute myeloid leukemia and needed a hematopoietic stem cell transplant. Shen Siyue wasn't a match. The poor child was innocent in all this. I booked the next flight to Los Angeles to get tested. Anin lay in a hospital bed, pale and covered in needle marks. He looked so pitiful. When he saw me, his voice was small as he asked Shen Siyue, "Mommy, is he daddy?" He was my son, after all. I couldn't stop the sudden prickling in my nose, my voice trembling as I said, "Anin, daddy's here." The boy looked at me and burst into tears, unable to stop. I stroked his head, soothing him. "Anin, don't be afraid. Everything will be okay. You'll be home soon." The test results came back. I was a match. I successfully donated my hematopoietic stem cells to Anin. Shen Siyue thanked me over and over. "Jiang Muyan, thank you. Anin means everything to me." I looked at Shen Siyue, barely in her early 30s, Yet life had worn her down so much she bore no trace of her former aristocratic grace. It can't be easy, surviving in Los Angeles, can it? She avoided my gaze, changing her clothes as she answered dismissively. I'll leave it in your care then. I have a show tonight, gotta go. Neither Shen Siyue nor I ever imagined we'd end up on such drastically different paths. My assistant called. Mr. Jiang, the Shen family's old estate and the house you once shared with Miss Shen, your former marital home, are both up for auction. What are your instructions? Buy them, I said. Have them cleaned. I'll be back in a while. And by the way, leave all the furnishings as they are. In his sleep, and then murmured softly, Daddy. Daddy. Shen Siyue might have brought some of her suffering on herself, I thought, but he was just a child. He didn't deserve to be dragged through her turbulent life. An's condition had improved, and we could return to our country for treatment. Shen Siyue packed my bags, preparing to see me off. Jiang Muyan, she said, I received all the money you sent. I held it in and said nothing. She continued, the building under An's name is still there. If you're willing, you can take him to live with you. To give her credit, Shen Siyue was still a very responsible mother. Even though she wasn't doing well financially, she never thought of abandoning her child. Human nature is truly complex. She could forsake her family for love. Yet when she fell on hard times and needed money, she didn't sell the building in her child's name for a quick fix. A woman is gentle by nature, but a mother is strong. Perhaps I was only now truly understanding this saying. Perhaps afraid I wouldn't agree, she then assured me, and we'll have a better life with you. I won't disturb you. I asked her, and what about you? She paused, not comprehending for a moment. What? If I take him back with me, what will you do? Keep dancing here. It's fine here. I can. So, I interrupted, come back with me. I bought the Shen family house. You and An can live there. It had been nearly 2 years since our divorce. The first time I'd called her Siyue, I couldn't quite place the feeling. Perhaps it was because my impression of her had always been one of radiant grace, and I couldn't bear to see her brought so low. Shen Siyue, with an N, did return with me. As she opened the door to the Shen family home, she wept silently, perhaps overcome by the poignant sense that while the place remained, everything else had irrevocably changed. See, if anything's missing, I'll have someone send it over. I'll be there for all of An's follow-up treatments. Shen Siyue had become quiet and reserved, nothing like her former self. I didn't say much more. This was all I could do for her now. The hurts from the past remained. Pitying her couldn't erase them. We wouldn't go back to how we were. That we could maintain this civility now was truly only because of Shen Siyue between us. I was just an ordinary father, hoping my child would have a good life, and by extension, that his mother wouldn't be too unhappy. That was all. In the tides of this era, I had seized my opportunities, setting our startup firmly on the right track. Now that things were stable again, finding new ventures and paths was what I ought to be doing. As for matters of the heart, those were like fleeting clouds. It was best to let nature take its course.